Hello everybody, this is Mr. B, and on Music Notes today we are going to be creating our first 4-chord song idea. This is going to take multiple steps and we're going to go step by step. Step 1. Decide on the type of song you want to make. Okay, it's really easy to go through the sequence brochure that I gave you, and I'm going to show you how to navigate that, just in case if you're not sure about it. Okay, so right here, you'll be able to see, it'll say drum patterns. If you double click on that, and then you go to this, at the top right, it looks like a little printer. Click on this. Now this will give you every page that you are looking for, and it's not going to be hard to load because it's already loaded. Okay, so decide on the song that you're making and then look at the type of drums it's going to make that you need to use. Okay, so I want to make let's say an R&B song. And look, I'm just scrolling up and down with the arrow key to quickly navigate the different types of drum patterns. All right, after you open this up through the printer tab, you'll have complete and easy access. Okay, R&B drum pattern, tempo between 120 and 125. That's my starting point. Step 2 is going to be making the drums. After you've decided on the genre that you want to make, now I'm going to sequence my drums. You can sequence them, you can finger play them, or you can even use loops from our All Sounds folder. Okay, so now let's make the drums. Knowing that this is my pattern that I'm going to rely on to make my drums, let's move this over a little bit and maybe I can minimize it to actually look back at my drums, okay? So I already know my tempo is going to be between 120 and 125. This is R&B, so it's slow. So if I'm setting my tempo at 120, it's really half the time of that, so it's going to be 60 BPM. Now, by default, it's already 120, so I'm going to go ahead and make it 125 to keep within the genre-specific PDF I have of an R&B drum pattern. Okay, so next, get your drum machine, which in our case is going to be Impact. Load up Impact. I already have a Mr. B drum kit. I'm going to use Cool Kit 1. Okay, that's easy enough. Now I'm going to load up my sample pattern. So I'm going to go to the beginning of the timeline, double click here, and then I can simply go down and insert pattern. Another easy way to do that is with the atom. When you have the atom just like this, if you select at the top setup, just like that. This is the easiest thing in the world to make a drum sequence. Now, press that green button. Now, watch what happens when I press this green button. Right here, I'm already in setup right there. Make sure that your playhead is at the beginning of the song or where you want to play it. Now, boom. See that? That's it. There's my pattern for my sequencer. Okay. Easy. Now I already have my pattern for my sequencer. Let me go ahead and zoom this up. And remember, we can zoom up really easy by clicking this beautiful square button right here. Watch this. I'm going to zoom out. I'm going to press the square, and it fills up the whole screen. Way easier to see. So if I double click this, now here is my pattern, my sequence. Okay, let's review the guide to actually make this sequence. All right, so we are going to have a kick on the 1 and a snare on the 2, 3. On the 3 because this is at double speed of what an R&B song would be. If you're not sure, please refer to the cheat sheet. It's going to be super helpful. It's going to help you understand what your sequences or your drums are going to be with your genre. It's very important. Okay, so let's go back and we're going to put our kick on the 1 and our snare on the 2 on the 3. Okay. And then what else did it say? It said we have a kick right here and a hat, open hat there. Okay, and some kicks along the way. So a kick here and let's go ahead and finish this pattern. I'm going to make this pattern exactly like it says on the cheat sheet that is available to you. So now that we have our pattern ready to move on to the next section, I just want to show you, here is my drum sequence down here, and you can see my single track is up there. Okay, now step 3 is going to be finding your instrument and chord progression. So first thing that we're going to do is load up the instrument of Juno 60 or something else that we like, and then we're going to preview our chord progressions, which I just gave you in a MIDI pack. So after you've downloaded the MIDI pack and put it into your all sounds, we should all be very familiar on how to do that. Now we're going to preview what that chord progression sounds like. Okay, so now I'm going to load up an instance of Juno 60. Okay, I'm going to put it on some kind of keys so I can get a good idea about what sound that I'm going to be going for with my R&B track. Remember that your genre is specific to you, so you want to find the sounds that are going to match. Best way to do that is to hear a contemporary song. Listen to a song that is similar in nature to what you're doing and hear what kind of sounds that they used for their chords. Okay, for this one, let's just find a simple piano sound. I'll just go to 1982 mellow piano. And now I already have my instrument, so I can go ahead and collapse that. And then we're going to go to Files, and in our All Sounds folder, we're going to find MIDI files. And in the MIDI files, you'll see chord progressions. Oh, wow, here's a ton of cool chord progressions. Okay, you can use any of these chord progressions that you like, but you have to remember a couple pieces of valuable information. One, what key that your chord progression is in. Here's basic, look at this. Basic chord progressions is a great starting point for your chord progressions. So there's major keys, bunch of different major key chord progressions, a bunch of minor key chord progressions, and then you have classic chord progressions from songs of these artists. And you're more than free to use any chord progressions that you want to. Okay? Since this is your first time, let's stay in basic chord progressions just for the sake of learning the process. Okay, I like minor keys, so I'm going to go to a minor chord progression. And let's try an E basic minor. Okay. Now, if I want to preview what this sounds like, all I have to do, since I have an instrument already loaded, okay, is press play. And then let's hear from the beginning. You know, I'm going to use this one. So all I'm going to do is drag and drop this file, just like this, down below, and then I have a 4-chord progression. Okay. Something to remember when we are making our drums is that I had to change this to 32-step sequence. Okay, right here, I had to change this to a 32-step sequence in order to fill up 2 bars for my drum pattern. Depending on what your drums are going to look like, if you're following the cheat sheet, remember that you might have to change the steps. 32 steps is 2 bars. So you have 1 bar that's different, and the second bar is going to be equally different, right? And together, they're a musical idea. So, going back to my chords, you can see my chords are kind of long. I'm going to have a full 4 bars, so I'm going to extend my drums out, but these now are too long. Pay attention. Here's something really cool, okay? I'm going to pop those in. I don't want my chord progression to be a whole bar for each note. I want it half of that. Okay, so if we listen to what it sounds like. Which sounds cool, but that's not gonna work for everybody. So let me show you a really cool trick to time stretch your MIDI data. So if you come to the end of the MIDI data, everybody look right here, and I press Option, it has a nifty little clock looking symbol. That's what we're gonna use. So if I go to Option, check this out, and then I hold down the mouse and drag it in, it's the same MIDI data, it's just twice as fast. Now listen. Okay, well, that could be useful for a number of different genres. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and extend this back out. Option, and you should be able to see that listed on the screen. Option, mouse, is to change the time warp of a MIDI file. Very important. Okay, so now that we have our chord progression, and this one was, remember, an E minor. I'm going to come over here to the key at the bottom of the page, and I'm going to type in E minor. There it is, okay? You just put that in there. It's going to help out later. All right. Let me show you now. And let me go ahead and fix the screen so everybody can see the 2 tracks that I have. Change the instrument to a sound that you prefer or what have you. You know, you can also add an arpeggio or change the MIDI notes to different lengths. There's a lot of really cool things you can do. But today I'm going to be teaching you how to make a bass line following the chords track. It couldn't get any easier than this. This is really important, so watch on the next clip. Okay, let's make a bass. Now, to make a bass, I'm going to show you the easiest way in the whole world to make a bass line, because where we have the chords. Now, you don't need to do this step if you already know how to record the correct notes, but it's probably a good introduction to bass lines to set the chords track, global chords track. What is a global chords track? A global chords track can link all of your tracks to a specific key or note, and it will put it in the right key or note. Yeah, I said that. It's going to make your music making abilities up a notch. Okay? Watch. Okay, so now let's make the chords global track. You always want to put this on. So up here at the top left, right here, there's like these three little lines. These are your global tracks. Global track visibility. Let's open it up. And we can literally put up all of this stuff, and that's all super helpful, especially the marker and the arranger. But right now, we're going to focus on the chords global track. Go ahead and enable that. And now, all you have to do is take your chords track and drag it and drop it into your chords global track. And it'll tell you what chords that are being played. E minor, we have D, C, and then C to the 6. All right. Well, what does this all mean, Mr. Brightman? Let me show you, because now we're going to make a bass line, and the bass line, we're going to sync it to the chords track. Okay, so let's open a new instance of Juno 60 for this particular assignment. Actually, I like to color code everything at this point and label everything because I already know that this is my drums. Very important, don't forget these steps. Chords. And then now we're going to make a bass line. So if I take a new impact, or a new Juno, and I find a bass sound that I like, and I'm really not spending any time doing that for this particular assignment because all I'm doing is demonstrating. But look at all these basses. There's a whole lot of really cool basses right there just in the analog discourse. So let's try something that's going to be, let's try classic. Okay. The first way to do this, and I'm going to record it using my Atom. Pay attention because this is something that it's not going to sound correct when you're doing it. What we're going to do is we're going to chord a single note. Okay? It doesn't matter even if you double click here and you double click here and you just put the note somewhere, or you record it. But I'm going to intentionally record it out of key. But it's the note in the right place. It's the rhythm of the bass note that I like. Okay, that's the rhythm of the bass, the melodics of the bass. It's pretty nice. It's pretty simple. And I'm going to record it, then quantize it. Quantize it is when you move the notes to the appropriate areas so that they are aligned up on the grid. It'll automatically do that for you. Okay? So on the Atom, I'm pressing count in. Okay, make sure my count in is enabled. You can see that down here at the bottom of the page, right there, count in. All right. It is blue, so I'm going to be able to count in. I'm going to turn my click on, my metronome on, and I'm controlling all of this from the Atom. And check this out. Click on, click off. Click on, click off. Count in, count off. Count in, not count in. Count in, okay, click. That's it. I am going to record that bass line, and then it's just going to be in one note that's all out of key. So let's do that. As you can hear, it sounds terrible because it's all out of key. Let's quantize it. So I highlight the track that I want to quantize, and we press Q. Okay, let me just show you what quantizing is actually going to do. I'm going to zoom in here. Look at this note. It's off. When I press Q, it is now where I wanted it to originally go. So now that my track is quantized, this is something new that I'm going to show you. Pay attention to this. We're going to go up to the top left to the I, which is inspector. You see this little inspector tab? Select that, and we're going to, on the bass track, I'm going to label it bass because I need to be able to see what all the tracks are. And I'm going to color code it real quick. Purple. Bass is purple. Chords are blue. Drums are red. That's our class preference. So now with this inspector, like inspector, check this out. So if I scroll down, time, bass, group, layers, boom, 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 boom. Oh, what does this follow chords mean? Now the notes that you have just played will follow the correct notes that are in the chords. Yeah, I said that. So all we have to do, since this is actually a bass, it has a bass function. So now press bass. Okay, you didn't see that because it's down here. So I'm going to zoom out. Now watch my bass notes. Watch all of these bass notes as I change my follow chords track to bass. There they are. They're all in key now. Now let's listen to it. Mission accomplished. We just made a bass line without having to know the scale or how to play the scale or any of that stuff. So, listen to a song that's a similar style of genre and listen to what the bass line is going in with the song that you are referencing. Remember, bass is monophonic and it's single notes, and it shouldn't overcomplicate. It should only fill up the low end of your song. Okay, the next step in making a song is the melody. The melody is the defining part of a song. So I'm going to show you how to make a melody. And we haven't actually gone over the specifics of melody yet, but at least I can show you using the chords track, maybe. Okay, you know what? This is what we're going to do. So now I've got these three components. Super cool. I've got my bass, I've got my chords, and I've got my drums. Instead of trying to teach you how to do melody right now, let's just use a melody loop. Yeah, let's go ahead and find a MIDI melody loop that is going to work. So first thing that we want to do is load up Juno. And at this point, you can try any of these other synthesizers. They're all pretty spectacular. I'm just using Juno as a teaching resource. So now I want to find like a lead, an LD, because that's going to be monophonic, and that's going to also be appropriate for what we're doing in this song. And that's actually a pretty cool one. So now I'm going to go to my files, and instead of going into the chord progressions, let's go into lead or melody and preview some of those. All right, if they're not in key, that's okay. We're going to set them to the chords track. Remember, we can do that with other MIDI files as well. So if I go to leads, all right, and you can find some leads that are in your scale. It could, or in your key, it could help. But, if you find one that you like, don't worry about it because we're going to set that to the key of your song. Okay, I don't know. I'm going to go with that one. It sounds pretty cool. So let me go ahead and load up this MIDI file. All right, it's going to be out of key. I'm just going to make sure everything's aligning up. I've got 4 amazing bars here. Now, I already have my inspector open. Okay, everybody's going to do this. This is super cool. I've got my bass line, my melody, and I'll just type in melody. And I'm going to come over to where it says follow chords. And this is not a bass, so we're going to put in parallel. Now, those notes are going to be in key. That's instead of bass, because this isn't a bass, we're going to just type in parallel. Now, let's hear how it sounds. Okay, I can work with that. Now, you can also edit out notes. So if I'm like, you know what, I didn't really like these 2 at the end, let me just edit those out. Amazing. So that's it. That's what we're going to be doing. We're making 4 bars, and we're going to, 1, make your drum sequence appropriate for your genre. 2, use a MIDI chord and make your chord sequence. Right? It's already made. You just find the instrument that's going to match. 3, you're going to make a bass line, and then you're going to sync it to your chords track. And 4, you're going to find a melody loop from the MIDI browser, and you're going to set that to the chords track. So really, this is all about the chords track. You've got the chords, you've got the chords track. Now everything is going to be in harmony. Okay, I can't wait to hear your song.